You struggle gaining muscle in a certain body part. It could be calves, maybe arms, maybe your chest. Well, most of us have some sort of limiter where it's like it's really hard for certain people to gain muscle in a certain body part, or better yet, a certain lift. I can relate this to both powerlifting and actually bodybuilding and aesthetic powerlifting, whatever you want to call it. So this can actually be classified down into you being either a hard gainer or kind of like an easy gainer. This is like a pretty well known concept, but basically, whenever we speak about like hard gainers versus the easy gainers, you're kind of talking about this like disposition to two different types of muscle fibers, right? You have slow twitch muscle fibers and fast twitch muscle fibers. So depending on your actual like overall disposition of the both of them, you can actually be more disposed to muscle growth and hypertrophy and like looking pretty and shit and being stronger basically just by birth. So if you have more slow twitch muscle fibers, basically they're super resistant to muscle damage, so you're not going to get sore nowhere near as much. They're better for endurance and stuff. So if you're in the running or something, they're pretty good. I don't know who's in the running. That shit sucks ass, but they're really good for running endurance things. They were really resistant to muscle damage, and for fast twitch muscle fibers, they're big, they're pretty, and they get damaged a lot faster, and they're more acceptable to actual growth. Okay, so whenever you see the Ugandan runners and stuff, they're all freaking malnourished and small and stuff. You got to keep small. Like slow twitch muscles, they don't want to grow. It's counterintuitive to their actual purpose, which is kind of like more long-term activities and stuff like running, cycling, swimming ish. But it really just depends, because I mean if you look at the more shorter distance runners, they're a lot less malnourished looking. They actually look kind of jacked. Football players, they're nowhere near the Ugandan long distance runner, Olympic marathon, 200 miles. They're just not even close to that. So, like, they tie this back into powerlifting and stuff. Whenever you have a certain body part that doesn't want to grow, you're either a hard gainer or a slow gainer, you can actually kind of go this into an individual body part, because each of us has kind of like our own genetic disposition to having like a certain body part grow like really easy. For instance, my delts, I have I'm a natty obviously, but they have stretch marks, right? Going into the actual bicep, I have stretch marks and stuff, and I've had these for a while, but even now they're still growing enough to maintain the actual stretch mark on my leading onto my bicep and my the connective tissue kind of here in between my pec and my front delt and stuff. But each of us has this sort of like body part where it's just super easy. For instance, my front delts and stuff, I've never really had to individually like lateral raises and stuff. Never really did them at all. I only had like 2 exercises I did for them. I did military press for a bit, so just overhead a little bit, and bench press. That's about it. I never really had to isolate them to grow them or anything. And for certain people, it's just like that. Or you can just be an absolute retard and they'll just grow anyways. But for some people, they might have really struggling shoulders. For those people, you're gonna have to kind of like diversify everything a lot. So for instance, my chest is a like hard gainer part of my physique. Okay, I got it a little bit bigger, but it is definitely a lagging point. Now, that isn't just because of powerlifting technique. Powerlifting technique will actually limit your chest growth overall for most people, because it actually, like, the way whenever you arch this and you pinch the back and everything, you like, retract your shoulders and stuff, you kind of take the chest a little bit more out of the equation, especially depending on your actual biology. So for certain movements, whenever you change up your form and stuff, for me especially, it completely takes my chest out of the equation damn near, and it's mostly just my shoulders. That's why they're easy gainers, all right? They take over in everything. Anything I do, chances are my shoulders are just trying to burge in there and just steal all of my gains from my chest. They're just like, man, we don't need big knockers. You just have big shoulders. And I disagree wholeheartedly. I kind of want some big knockers, but it's okay. Now, what I've done actually to gain a little bit of growth, I'll put some pictures up on the screen or something, I actually have a decent amount of chest growth where I don't look weird and I don't have this weird bird chest thing going on here. You need to diversify your movements a lot. So this is where adding more bodybuilding-esque movements in there. Like, for instance, you can get the cables, pec flies, the actual pec fly machine. That actually isolates my chest a lot. And also just trying out dumbbells. Dumbbells can actually isolate a muscle in a complete and utter different way than you ever would have known before, right? So I don't do mini dumbbells. I never did them, so my stabilization's on them really bad. Then I have the muscle mass to move heavy dumbbells, but the stabilization's not there. So it's just really infuriating because you're here moving the 75s like, but then it's just like boom and oh no, and you got to go to the ER because you just dislocated your freaking whatever joint this is right here. But getting used to that actual movement stimulates the chest for a lot of people in a completely different way. What you're going to have to do if you are, you know, a good bit of people are easy gainers in the chest. If you're a hard gainer in the shoulders or something, or the arms, you're going to have to look up a lot of different ways to actually hit that muscle. You need to shock it. Now, for some muscles, you don't have to do that. You can only have 2 different things. You can just hit it by accident and they'll still be perfectly fine. Like, if I wanted to have like a completely balanced physique, I really don't need to add any shoulders into my routine that much. Now, I could, and they would grow even more, but that wouldn't really help me in any way because they already take over way too much in everything I do. So for a lot of people, it can really benefit you to try and like diversify all of your exercises for that kind of hard gainer body part. Now, back to the slow twitch versus fast twitch whole science ordeal thing. Bro, if you have like more slow twitch and shit, you're going to recover way quicker. For instance, me, I hardly get sore. I don't think I'm like fully like slow twitch. The shoulder's kind of big. But what I wonder is like you can have a different like disposition to kind of like the kind of muscle fibers, but individual to your actual body parts. I don't know if there's actual science behind that. I'll put that up on the screen. But I've been using this kind of as like an example so you can put it into perspective, right? Because obviously some grow a lot better than others, and some of them it's hard to activate them, right? Well, if you have a lot of like, we'll call it slow twitch, I don't know if it's scientifically right, slow twitch body parts, right? This will actually kind of like, they're going to recover way quicker. So for some people, you might end up doing like 5 sets on the freaking leg press, and the next day you might just feel like, oh, hey, I could just go ahead and do another 5 sets. Now, on the other hand, the other, you know, majority, however many people can actually do this, which it seems like there's a good bit, they'll just, the next day, they'll just be like, oh, dude, damn, I don't want to think about doing legs for the next 10 years. Which is actually everyone, now that I think about it. But I mean, like, if it was actually fatigue limiting them and they weren't just scared of pain. So for some people, they're gonna cure a lot more muscle damage on certain muscles because their body is just gonna naturally engage them way more. So if you can find a better exercise, for instance, like the like seated incline like dumbbell like curls, where you kind of like knocking stuff over, but it kind of gives you a crazy stretch and you're just kind of isolating the bicep. It can help you actually a lot if you struggle to actually, you know, mind muscle connection in your bicep. Now, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Most bicep curls are very isolated, as long as you don't turn it into some bull crap like, and you're literally just like humping the air like some sort of moron just because you can like curl the 60s, even though you no one's impressed, dude. No one really cares. Me, whenever I train arms, I don't go that heavy at all. I kind of get like when I do the incline things, I can really only do like 30s on there for like maybe stuff 12 or something. But you know, it's about dropping the ego off at the door, right? If you're looking for hypertrophy, drop ego off at the door, all right? Now, another thing. So they recover way, way quicker, right? Let's say you have a slow twitch, dominant muscle fiber, whatever the heck, like my chest that doesn't really want to get activated or get sore anymore, or any part of me that wants to get sore anymore. You need to start bombarding it kind of with more volume, whatever you can actually recover from, all right? So if you have a muscle part, so let's just do this for the sake of simplicity, your arms, all right? Let's say your biceps are not growing, all right? You just hit biceps one day and they feel completely fine the next day. Well, if the next day you're going to hit legs, it might be worth it, even though this is weird as hell. I did this for a while, though, because I wanted bigger arms, because I was a powerlifter and we don't hit arms, poverty, biceps, yada, 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 you know, whole ordeal. You know, it might really benefit you to start just adding freaking biceps to the end of every workout. For instance, I would be doing, like, squats, leg extensions, leg press, bicep curls, all right? Now, is it normal? No. Is the pump kind of strange? Yes. I don't know why. Something about it is just, like, especially those laying, like, they call them, like, Bayesian curls or something. Like, when you get the machine and you kind of, like, stand up and just, I don't know, dude. All the blood just leaves my legs and it's just in my arms all of a sudden. Kind of sucks. Not the coolest pump, but for sure very effective for growth, because these stretch marks in my actual bicep are pretty new. Like, actually breaching into the actual bicep, that's actually a new occurrence, because I started adding in more exercises, because they already grew, like, somewhat well, even though I never even, like, worked them out. Like, as far as just, like, isolating them, because they're already kind of an easy gainer, but if you have an easy gainer body part and you start literally try-harding them for no reason, they can get pretty damn big. So, I have one more point. Okay, I talked a lot about how to circumvent kind of like slow twitch muscle fibers, where it's like kind of just add more volume in whenever you can until you eventually can't recover from it at the end of each workout and stuff for certain body parts and stuff, as long as your CNS does not get completely destroyed. All right, what about fast twitch? All right, every time you work something out, it's absolutely bombarded for the next few days. Whenever it comes to that, if that body part is still small, you're either not eating enough or you're not sleeping enough. And that's really just it, man. You need to make sure that you have a balanced circadian rhythm. So you kind of want to go to sleep and wake up at the same day, which just isn't always practical. You're going to end up messing up. But the more times that you can do it successfully, the better everything's going to be. Because to be honest, you don't really grow during the daytime as much as you just grow whenever you're sleeping. You grow a lot more whenever you're sleeping. So whenever you kind of think about sleep, just kind of put it on a priority, you know? If it came between like eating a shit ton of food and then going to bed, or just going to bed, let's say I had like 2,500 calories before I was about to go to bed, and had the option of adding in another 500 or so. Well, those extra calories disturb sleep, and chances are will throw off my circadian rhythm, so it'll completely derail my sleep schedule and stuff, because I'll just wake up tomorrow feeling like an absolute bag of shit. I'd probably just leave those 500 calories off the table unless I'm feeling like an absolute pig, in which case I will go ahead and destroy my sleep cycle and not be recovered the next day properly. Now, me personally, I don't really get sore anymore. It takes a lot of volume and a lot of intensity to actually get me sore, so you kind of need to isolate each body part once at a time, because I can't just hit my entire body 8 times a fucking week, because, oh, man, that was a heavy F-bomb, sorry guys, but you can't just bomb your entire body about 8 times a week, so because your CNS is just going to be fried, and you're just going to kind of feel like a bag of, not going to say that, but a bag of rocks. The ball is on this freaking heater, man. Turn it on mid-sentence. Sorry, fellas. But you're going to kind of need to cycle out these body parts, you know, not 1 week, and like one cycle of your program, you might want to do like focus more on your biceps and stuff, and maybe have a few other body parts that you focus on, but for the most part, kind of keep it a little bit more isolated, because at a certain point, your brain's just going to be fried, and you're just not going to be able to move any sort of meaningful weight, which is going to be kind of rough, because then it's like you're not ego lifting, but you genuinely just cannot like lat pull down like 30 pounds, bro. Like, so I do some crazy ass drop sets sometimes, right? Where I'll just do like if I'm short on time, I'll do some crazy drop sets because I don't feel like being in the gym for 3 hours. So I'll just have it like, I'll start off with my body weight about 170, then put it down one, boo, and then all of a sudden I'm down to like 85 pounds, and I just can't even pull it down. All right, that's not aura, fellas. Okay, I'm yapping now. Sorry, fella. I think I got my point across on how to kind of circumvent each of them. But until next time. Okay.